Ahead on TSN CFL Report, Fred Glick runs out of time in Ottawa. Bob Weber takes over the Red Riders. Highlights from Week 3. The Green Riders lead the way. And Calgary gets another shot at Hamilton. The Stampeders are desperate for victory. The CFL Report, brought to you by Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Charmer. Hi everyone, welcome to the CFL Report. It is Week 4 in Canadian football. The Rough Riders, East and West, are providing the 88 headlines so far. For fans in Saskatchewan, it is a dream come true. In Ottawa, it's the reverse. So far, 1988 is more of the same. Another nightmare. Just 3 games in, Fred Glick is gone.
I just felt there was with the losing streak that we had, that we had to make a change in the coaching staff. It's particularly difficult for me because of a personal association with Fred Glick, who I admire greatly and who I think is a very good football coach. But the long and the short of everything in this business is that you have to win. And we simply did not win enough football games. And when those kinds of things happen, you have to make coaching changes.
So Bob Weber got his first chance to prove himself Tuesday night at Lansdowne in Ottawa. The Rough Riders, after win 1 in '88, with the Argos looking to make it 3 in a row to take over sole possession of top spots in the East.
Hey, I feel like I got hit over the head with a sledgehammer.
And it was easy to see why Bob Weber felt that way. His debut as head coach in Ottawa didn't go according to the script. Things did start off promisingly, however. The offense was moving the football, and the Rough Riders grabbed an early 7-3 lead. The defense was also hanging tough and making enough big plays to raise more hopes. But somewhere along the way, the wheels fell off the wagon. The Argos started to move the ball. Gil Renfro figured out the Rough Rider defense and started hitting his receivers to give Toronto the lead. Ottawa still in the game. That is until Tom Dixon mishandled a snap on a punt from deep in his own zone late in the first half. The Argos scored again. Gil Finnerty ran for a short touchdown, and you could sense the wind leaving Ottawa's sails.
There was a point in there where, boom, they got 2 big catches out of Boyd, and pow, they're in the end zone. Now, we may have been able to overplay that, but the big turning point came when we mishandled a snap from center on the punt, not too far after the Boyd touchdown.
The second half was a nightmare for Ottawa fans. The Argos scored early and often in the third quarter, and for all intents and purposes, the game was over at that stage. Final score, Toronto 41, Ottawa 7.
Yeah, we really needed this win because we had our biggest crowd ever at home, and try to get these fans to stay here. You know, it's not lost yet. I think we can come back. It's been done before. But I think, you know, we have 11 days before we play Winnipeg, and I think we can regroup. Just go back to square one and regroup.
Somebody popped the question to me tonight, an airlift, a wholesale. Those are the wrong words. We need one guy that can make some plays for us. I'm going to say we want to start with 1. And a guy that can get the old Ottawa Rough Riders going.
And it is interesting as you look back, Leif Patterson, to what might have been, what if former Rough Rider assistant coach Bob Obilovich had moved up in Ottawa rather than move on to Toronto? Do you think the fortunes of the Rough Riders these past few years would have been that much greater?
Quite possibly, John. You know, I think the greatest strength of a Bob Obilovich is his ability to evaluate talent and bring that along, and of course that's what Ottawa really needs. I think the biggest problem is not coaching. I mean, the general manager, Paul Robson, I mean, he's got to provide some players for these guys to coach. You know, you look, they fired Donnie Holtby. Now, he brought in Tom Burgess and Gilbert Renfro, 2 quarterbacks that aren't doing too shabby for some other teams in the CFL. So I think it's a problem with players. They just don't have anybody.
Quickly, can they turn it around, do you think?
Only if Todd Dillon or Art Schleister really gets hot. I can't see. They got a horrible defense. Can't stop anybody.
All right, just ahead on the CFL Report, highlights of Week 3. And the big story, of course, comes from Saskatchewan, where Rough Rider fans rejoice. Time for a quick look back to Week 3 in Canadian football. First, the Edmonton-Ottawa matchup. The Rough Riders kept it close to the finish, but failed to knock off the Grey Cup champs. The 1-1 Edmonton Eskimos in Ottawa to take on the winless Rough Riders. And the Eastern Rough Riders did what no team had managed to do through the first 2 games. That's score a touchdown against the Eskimo defense. Todd Dillon to Mark Lewis late in the first quarter. Ottawa in front 7-3. The Eskimos battled back to take the lead with a pair of majors in the third. Tracy Ham scampered 12 yards into the end zone, and the Eskimos led it 28-18 after 3. But Ottawa came back to tie it early in the fourth. Dillon found Paul Nastasiak in the end zone, and Rider fans had something to cheer about. Tracy Ham then countered for Edmonton once more. 71 seconds on the clock. Ham scrambled to the end zone, his second major of the game. The Eskimos in front 35-28. A last gasp for Ottawa. Dillon led the Rough Riders all the way down to the Eskimo 9 in the final seconds. He had 4 cracks at the tying touchdown, but his final pass to Robert Reed fell incomplete, and the Eskimos escaped with an exciting 35-28 win over Ottawa. Game 2 in Week 3 saw the unbeaten BC Lions visit the Toronto Argonauts at Exhibition Stadium. The Argos jumped in front quickly. Rookie Lorenzo Graham took the opening kickoff from Roy Kurtz and returned it 86 yards, all the way to the BC 1-inch line. Gil Fennerty crashed over from there, and the Argos were in front 7-0 very, very early. Toronto capitalized on another big play in the second quarter. Gilbert Renfro lofted a perfect pass to rookie Pernell Moore, and he took it down to the BC 3. Fennerty took it in from there, and it was 20-7 Argos at halftime. But the Lions made it close with a pair of quick touchdowns in the second half. Matt Dunnigan hooked up with Sam Moore on a 68-yard pass and run touchdown. BC trailing 23-21 with lots of time remaining. However, the Argo defense led by Willie Pless-Titan, and Matt Dunnigan couldn't pull off a miracle comeback. The final score, Toronto 26, BC 21. On to Saskatchewan, the 1-1 Blue Bombers taking on the unbeaten Saskatchewan Rough Riders in Regina. The Green Riders took the lead on their second play from scrimmage. Tom Burgess, Jeff Fairholm behind the coverage. 79 yards later, Fairholm into the end zone, Saskatchewan into a 7-0 lead. Burgess went back to work later in the quarter. This time he connected with Ray Elgard on a 64-yard pass and run touchdown, and Taylor Field was jumping. The Green Rough Riders leading 17-4 at that point. Saskatchewan defense then made life miserable for Roy DeWalt and Tom Mickey, forcing 8 turnovers and shutting down the Bomber offense. The final score, Saskatchewan 46, Winnipeg 18. The Rough Riders take over sole possession of top spot in the West. The final game of Week 3, Calgary hosting the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Stamps looking for their first win against the 1-1 Tiger Cats at McMahon. Calgary into an early 3-0 lead. Mike Kerrigan answering quickly with 2 touchdown passes after that. This to Steve Stapler, and the Tiger Cats back in front 14-4 second quarter. Rick Warman didn't have much success on the night, but did manage to hook up with newcomer Derek Holloway for a 63-yard pass and run touchdown, and the Stamps trailed by 8 early in the second half. But Hamilton dominated the rest of the way. Fullback Johnny Jones swept around the right side for a 7-yard score, and the Tiger Cats cruised to their second win of the season. The final, Ticats 45, Calgary 20. And some surprise in the standings in both divisions as we look ahead to Week 4. First in the East, the Argos lead the way. That was expected with 3 wins in 4 games. The rebuilding Tiger Cats, though, are right there, 2 points back with a game in hand. The Blue Bombers have all kinds of problems, remain only 2 points ahead of the 0-4 Ottawa Rough Riders. Now to the Western Division, the Rough Riders are sailing along at 3-0. The best showing, the best record in the land. BC and Edmonton are 1 win behind, while the Stampeders are getting rather close to desperate at this stage of things. A couple of notes from the West. Veteran place kicker Bernie Ruoff is in British Columbia looking for work with the BC Lions. He's on a tryout out there. And in Edmonton, John Mandarich, the outstanding defensive end with the Eskimos, the Grey Cup champions of last year, is back in Edmonton after failing a tryout with the New Orleans Saints. Mandarich hopes to catch on with the Eskimos once more. And now the Foster's Star of the Week for Week 3. It was a tough choice, looking back over several outstanding performances. Eskimo quarterback Tracy Ham earns honorable mention as the Foster's Star of the Week. He had a great game in leading the Eskimos past the Ottawa Rough Riders. The rookie quarterback completed 24 of 35 passes for 319 yards. Ham also contributed along the ground with 59 yards rushing and a couple of touchdowns, including the winner with just over a minute to play. The entire Saskatchewan defensive unit also gets honorable mention this time. The Green Rider defense sacked Roy DeWalt and Tom Mickey 8 times and forced 7 Bomber turnovers as the Rough Riders hammered Winnipeg Friday in Regina. But this week's Foster's Star of the Week is linebacker Willie Pless of the Argonauts. Pless was a thorn in Matt Dunnigan's side all night as the Argos beat the Lions 26-21. Pless also recorded 2 sacks, 6 unassisted tackles, and led the Argo defense against the powerful BC offense. Willie Pless of the Argonauts earns the Foster's Star from Week 3. And the selection of this week's top Canadian was a little easier. A young Saskatchewan star has made a big impression in a very short time. Rookie slotback Jeff Fairholm of Saskatchewan is quickly showing why he was the second player chosen overall in the 1988 college draft. The University of Arizona product has become a favorite receiver of Tom Burgess early this season. Friday in Regina, no exception. Fairholm hauled in 5 passes for 160 yards and a touchdown as the Rough Riders hammered Winnipeg. That performance good enough to earn Fairholm the Canadian Star of the Week. He looks like he's going to be a great one. Coming up, the Week 4 preview. It is time to win for those Stampeders in Calgary. A great finish in 1987 was to make for a great beginning in 1988 for the Calgary Stampeders. So far, the Stamps have fallen flat. 3 straight losses and a lot of second-guessing means this week's rematch with the Tiger Cats is crucial for coach Larry Kuharek.
It's quiet around McMahon Stadium these days. The excitement of the new season has disappeared, and it's been replaced with anger and frustration as the Calgary Stampeders try to figure out what's gone wrong.
As a team, we're pulling in different directions right now, and we just got to get up and get out of that hole.
Winless in 3, the Stampeders have been stopped in their tracks. The changes came quickly. Safety Scott Flagel, last year's top Canadian and Shenley Award winner, was traded to Hamilton. It was a 1-for-1 deal for linebacker Ken Ford.
I told Scott it wasn't an indictment at all of him. It was my error. I looked at Scott to bring us things that I admire and respected. I seen him play at Winnipeg. But we need some help up front. And Ken Ford is a player that we tried to sign in the off-season. And he throws his body around. He's an exciting player as far as temperament goes. He certainly exhibited that last night. So we went along and made the trade.
Because of injuries and uninspired play, 5 roster moves were made prior to last week's game. Expect more this week. And in the never-ending quarterback saga, Rick Warman was handed the ball. He only went 19 for 44 against Hamilton and was sacked 5 times.
We're just banging our heads against ourselves, and you know, it's either a bad pass here or a bad block here, that kind of thing. And so this team isn't much different than it was a year ago, and it's just frustrating that we can't put our finger on why.
Hoping to inject some new life into the floundering Stampeders, Calgary brought in speedster Derek Holloway. The wide receiver and punt return specialist has been compared to Gizmo Williams. He says he can help out this club.
Maybe just some different looks, lining up different, maybe coming out the backfield, some other things we work on. Hopefully Coach Q will get me a little more in offense this week, like some of the things we worked on last week. And maybe give the team a little lift. I know I can't do it by myself, and maybe we can just rally together. Maybe a new look, a little different wrinkle here, a little different wrinkle there. Maybe we'll pull us together.
So as Calgary gets ready for the second of back-to-back games with Hamilton, the Stampeders will continue to look for the right combination. Both coaches and players agree the mental errors have to stop, the defense has to be consistent, and the offense has to get back on the board. A tough job for any team whose lack of leadership and confidence has hit an all-time low. I'm Teresa Hergert in Calgary, and with a look at Hamilton, here's Rod Smith.
Well, Teresa, as the fans get set to file back in through the gates of Iverwin Stadium, undoubtedly they're very happy with their 2-1 football team, but probably no more happy than the coach, Al Bruno. And Al, that was a very big win out in Calgary. The question is now, what are you going to do differently when you face them this time?
Well, it's that way it's good because we have no extra days, to work on a different team. Being the same team, Calgary, we're going to basically do the same thing. Hopefully we can get our running game going like we did again, and same passing running plays or passing plays, same type of defense, but in particular the way the special teams play. If they play the same way, we have a good chance of winning again.
I thought one key was the way Mike Kerrigan was able to exploit Chris Major. Basically, the Calgary corners were a little bit vulnerable, I should say, and particularly Stapler and DiPietro. Are you going to plan on doing that again?
Well, I mean, he made some good plays too. I have to give the kid credit, but Stapler caught one on him. So did Young Zatilny. But the ball had to be there both times, and the ball was there. Mike Kerrigan did a great job picking his receivers out all over the field. But I was pleased with the outside receivers and the work that they did in the receptions.
Defense, of course, a very strong point for Hamilton, and no exception with the front line. Even though you were rushing only 4 guys, you got so much pressure on Warman. I think that had him a little bit flustered for the rest of the game.
It sure did, because, when you look at our defense, and we had those holes to fill with Bennett out, Zambiazzi, Ezrins, I think those young guys are really filling in fine, and I think the way we play, we're getting better every game, and I'm pleased with the way Corbin's looking, and all the guys are playing so well together. And if you have sound defense, hey, you're going to win 9 out of 10 games.
No sooner do you play the Stampeders, but then you make a trade with them. Scott Flagel, the safety, coming here to Hamilton, and you sending out Ken Ford. Now, to a lot of eyes, that looked like a pretty good trade for you guys.
I think it was, because we needed that area, the safety area real bad because of losing Bennett. When Larry Kahori called me about the trade, and although Ford was doing a great job for us too, Ken Ford's a great ball player, and I think he'll help Calgary. But I thought we had a good part of that deal, bringing in Flagel. He gives us that flexibility now we can use in other positions.
Just to wrap things up, I talk about preseason predictions. I mean, there are those that had the Cats, with Ottawa and probably in the basement of the East, and now you're 2-1 tied for first place, and who knows, another win against Calgary could make you 3-1. Well, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, it seems to me that all these writers out there across Canada, they copy from the Toronto writers, they pick us last. That's fine. We've been picked last for the last 3 or 4 years, and we've kind of fooled the experts. But if they want to continue to pick us last, hey, we can live with that. But if we play good ball, we also expect good plugs, and good positive stories about the way we play, and not just one way that the other team made all those mistakes. Give us some credit, because I think our guys played well against Toronto. They played well against Calgary. And since that's the story, then write it the way it is.
Well, with another win, the Ticats would move to 3-1, and with a record like that, it's pretty hard not to give them some respect. Unfortunately, it would come at the expense of Calgary. Another loss would drop the Stampeders to 0-4. Now, that's a pretty tough start to recover from. Now back to the CFL Report.
Now, of course, the Tiger Cats have Scott Flagel in the lineup this week. How much is that going to help the Hamilton secondary?
John, I think it'll help them a great deal because they're already a good, solid defense. They played well so far this year, but, Scott Flagel, you got the man in the middle, and that's where you want to have a big hitter and a good player, and he's a tremendous safety. And playing for Al Bruno's so easy, too. He likes the veteran guys, so he's a perfect guy to fit in their scheme.
Your pal Larry Kuharek might be in a little bit of hot water if he doesn't pull one off this week. He's 0-3 right now. How badly does Kuharek have to win?
Well, I mean, 0-3, it's obvious how badly he needs to win, but I really feel sorry for him. They had so much success last year, and I really thought it would carry over into 1988. It just hasn't turned out that way. Defensively, they just can't stop anybody, and the offense has sputtered all season long. So he's in a bad situation, and I don't see it getting any better.
All right, just ahead, Lee Pedersen and Marty Adler will set the line for Week 4 in the CFL and pick some winners. I know you're doing well. This is the CFL Report on TSN. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Lee Pedersen's chance to pick some winners coming right up. I have been away, but I understand you have been doing well. How have you been doing?
Well, now wait a minute. Now you've been gone for 2 weeks. Now see what happens. You drink Dom Perignon for the first time in your life, and you have a 2-week hangover. But you finally made it home.
Well, there are these social commitments that one has to live up to. All right. How have you been doing? I mean,
not bad.
stuff.
Not bad. 2 out of 3 last week.
Yep.
The Hamilton game killed me. I went with Calgary and got burned, but I'm 6 for 9 on the year, 66%. You know, about where I was last year. Nothing's changed.
We're going to fix you this week, though, because we have got a new picker. Marty Adler.
Another new guy.
Is our resident numbers expert here at TSN. He joins us from Win, Place, and Show and harness racing coverage on the network. Leif Pedersen picks his winners for the week after we get Marty's CFL line for Week 4.
Okay, guys, let me tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, I don't drink. I don't smoke, I don't mess around, but I love to gamble. Whether it's on cards or on horses or the NFL, if the Pope is going to get married and the odds are right, I'll gamble on that too. But we've got 3 CFL games coming up this week, and let's talk about them. Number 1, Saskatchewan and Edmonton. When is the bubble going to burst for Saskatchewan? They've gone 12 years without making the playoffs. They're already 3-0 this year. Last week, they had 3 players make the CFL Stars of the Week. Their defense is awesome, 24 sacks in 3 games. This team is hot. The last time they played Edmonton, they beat Edmonton 26-15 this season. But they're going into Edmonton, and Edmonton is awfully tough at home. We've got the revenge factor to consider. We've got the grass to consider. The way I see this game, it's going to boil down between a kicking game, Dave Ridgway against Jerry Korach. A lot closer than you think. I'm taking Saskatchewan minus 3.5 points. Next game, Calgary into Hamilton. Well, which Hamilton team is going to show up? This is a Jekyll and Hyde team. When you expect them to win, they lose. When you expect them to lose, they win. Now, these 2 teams met just last weekend, 45-20, Hamilton in a blowout. Calgary, where are they? Already this year, they're 0-3. Hamilton is 2-1. And, you know, Hamilton won for only the 2nd time in McMahon Stadium since 1979 last weekend. Now they're going to come home, and after last week's blowout, you think it's going to be another blowout, right? Could be right. I'm picking Hamilton, 10.5 points. And our 3rd game of the week, British Columbia at Winnipeg. Well, hasn't Winnipeg been having its problems? You know they've been having their problems both on and off the field. They lose Reeves, they lose Clements, they lose Boyd. They're unhappy because of their contract shtick. And this BC team, I'll tell you, Matt Dunnigan for BC is going to quarterback them right all the way, I kind of think. Anyway, British Columbia, 11 points. And that's how I see the CFL this week.
Okay, Marty, let's look over Marty's picks this week and see how Leif Pedersen goes up against it. The Thursday game, Saskatchewan. Marty likes the Rough Riders, but points out that they are on grass, and he'll take them by 3.5.
Well, Marty sounds like he knows his stuff, but you know, Edmonton is a tough place for anybody to play. And Regina, sure, 3-0. But I think, you know, he says kicking game. I agree to a point. It's quarterbacking, though. That's what wins or loses. Tracy Ham, I'm still not sold on him as a starting quarterback, and I hate to do it, but Marty, I agree with you. I'll give the 3.5 and go with the Roughies. One more time.
With Saskatchewan. I could have understood that you'd go that way. Friday, it's a rematch of Week 3. Calgary Stampeders are desperate for a win. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, according to Marty Adler, are 10.5-point favorites, and he takes Hamilton.
That's a big number, 10.5, but, you know, it's understandable. Calgary,
touchdown and a field goal.
Calgary is playing lousy football. You know, defensively, they just can't stop anybody. You know, last week I said if they could shut down Stapler and Winfield, they'd have a chance to win. Well, they couldn't shut down anybody. So it's a big number, but once again, I have to agree to give the 10.5, and you should be in good shape.
All right, and we've got to move quickly here. Friday, it's BC and Winnipeg. The Bombers struggling. Marty says take BC, give the points.
That's a lot of points again, 11 points. And in Winnipeg, they've got to wake up one of these weeks, and I think this will be it. You know what? I think BC's going to win the football game, but 11's too many, so I'll take the Bombers and the 11 points.
All right, that should get you ready for Week 4 in Canadian football. Our next telecast on TSN is coming up Thursday, August the 11th from Vancouver. And we'll be there live as the Lions host the Toronto Argonauts. See you next time. Report, brought to you by Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Chala.